ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामने गौरतुसे नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा. So we welcome everyone for today's discussion on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So we are discussing from chapter 2nd and verse number 31. We discussed last time. Swadharmam api chaveksha na vikampitum arhasi dharmadhyudhyashchayavanya kshatriyasya na vidyate. So Lord Krishna is encouraging Arjuna at the level of material duties also. Arjuna, even if you think yourself to be this body, so as a Kshatriya, you should fight. That is also your material duty. Spiritually, also Arjuna's duty was to fight because Krishna, the Supreme Lord, he is instructing him, ordering him that you fight. So that is, if considering that it is Krishna's instruction, if Arjuna fights, then that is devotional service. But Krishna says, even if you think yourself to be this body and you are more inclined for material welfare, so then also you should fight. That will be Shreyo Anyat. Dharmyadhi Yudhya Shreyo Anyat Kshatriyasana Vidyate. There is no better option for a Kshatriya than this for fighting, except apart from fighting in the battlefield for the sake of protecting Dharma. That is the best activity a Kshatriya can perform. So you should still fight. So this we already discussed last time. So now next, Krishna is going to explain about what Arjuna will get even if he fights the battlefield at the level of material duty. Because material benefit now Krishna will explain. When in the previous chapter, the previous section, when Krishna was explaining science of soul, so Krishna very clearly explained that you are not these bodies. Why you are unnecessarily concerned about all these material things, material loss and gain? Now, you have nothing to do with all these things. This is all illusory concept. Materially, if somebody calculates his profit and loss, if somebody thinks that my profit and loss means material profit and loss, that is an illusory conception, which is misconception. It's just like a person who is dreaming. So in the dream, he sees that he has lost everything, and then he is crying. When he gets up, still he is crying. So what is the use? Arey Baba, that was a dream. Why are you crying? Sometimes it happens. As, small children or sometimes grown-up children also, when they see some kind of dream, so even they wake up, then also they are morose. बहुत बेकार सपना देख लिया, then okay, देख लिया, खत्म, finish, nothing is lost, but still they feel some loss because of identification with the dream. Just like today my mother saw a dream and she saw me that I am admitted in the hospital. So she was constantly calling me. I was not picking. But then finally I called her back. So then she was little depressed. She was thinking, she asked me, your health is okay or not? You are taking proper diet or not? I said, I am perfectly all right. I have come for a program. So she started telling, I have seen such and such dream. You were admitted. And even after you got cured, still doctors were not releasing you. Some or other, I discharge you. In this way. So I said that was a dream. Just forget it. It comes and goes. Agama apayino anityas. Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita. This happiness and distress comes and goes. So why we should bother? So even in dreaming condition, when we have awakened from dreaming condition, we know that it was a dream, but it's still because of attachment, we feel that that dream is something. Similarly, so this illusory conception in this material world, anyone who is living in this material world with false conception, he is living in a dreamland, dream world. He is dreaming. If I think myself to be this body, and with this misidentification, if I act while living in this body, that is actually a dream. There is no use. But as soon as you come to the real understanding that you are not this body, you are a spirit soul, then immediately we should not be so much bothered about what is happening in this material world with regards to material gains and loss, happiness and distress. So one should not be concerned about this. So Krishna instructed this in the previous section to Arjuna that just give up. He said, Matra sparsastu kaunteya sitoshna sukha dukkada agama payana nityastam titikshasya bharata. Knowing yourself to be different from this body, you should act on the spiritual platform. And when Arjuna might ask this question, okay, Krishna, you are telling I am not this body, spirit, soul, I accept it. But still, as long as I am having this body, something happens to this body or something happens to somebody who is related with this body, then feeling means who feels? Not I feel. Actually, your mind feels, Arjuna. Why are you so much taking it to yourself? You don't feel. Your mind is feeling like this. You are not this mind. I have already told you. Yeah, I understand. I am not this body. I am not this mind also. But still. So then Krishna gave this perfect solution. Even if you if you feel, although you don't feel, your rascal mind is feeling like this happiness, distress. So when your rascal mind feels that, oh, I'm getting happiness. So you are not actually becoming happiness. Why? You are unnecessarily getting entangled. In the dream, sometimes a person dreams that I have become a king. I have so much wealth, so much. Yeah, or suppose sometimes suppose a student who is preparing for some very certain great examination. So in the dream, he may dream like this that I have cleared, I have passed. So he may feel happy, but that is illusory conception. So similarly, anything which happens with this body and mind, not with us. In this material world, nothing can happen with us. Whatever will happen, whatever is happening, and whatever has happened, that has happened, is happening, and will happen only with this body and mind. So, understanding yourself that you are not this body and mind, you should just remain neutral to what is happening, what has happened, and what will be happening. You should be only concerned with the business, soul's business, you should be concerned. But still, because of attachment, even if you feel sometimes, although you don't feel, your mind feels, but even if you feel sometimes, just tolerate it. Simple solution, Krishna again. Tam titikshasva means tolerate. Tam titikshasva bharata. Just tolerate it for the time being and go on executing your spiritual business. Gradually, you will come out of those attachment also. So Krishna very nicely, very perfectly, he explained everything, all the philosophy, considering all the conditions. The first and best condition is that you become convinced that I have nothing to do with this mind's business. Then you are not affected, you are unaffected completely. But even if you are attached because of attachment, if you feel, then okay, Krishna gave the second best solution. Just tolerate it and go on executing your Krishna conscious duties. Even if you feel disturbed because of something, because of loss of something, or because of too much hankering for to get something, if your mind becomes disturbed, it's very interesting point. Uh, the attachment always leads to suffering situation. Why? Suppose if you are attached to somebody, something, so you are hankering to get that. So that hankering is also a condition situation of suffering. That is also suffering situation. And suppose if you get that, then also this becomes the suffering situation because nothing is permanent, everything is temporary. So then there is loss of losing it. Loss, fear of losing it. Then this comes. And as soon as we lose it, then also there is suffering. In all the three places, actually, there is suffering only. There's nothing else. Suppose if you get your most desirable object, so still you will have fear that I may lose it. Or even if you don't lose it, you protect it very nicely. Still, how long you can protect it? Eventually, it is going to get destroyed. It is going to get destroyed. Any object, any person, any situation, whatever you may take, any object you take, any person you take. Nobody, you cannot live with anyone, anything permanently. This material world is just changing. It's temporary. That means it is going to give you suffering. So the best course of action is that before the situation of suffering comes in our life because of excessive attachment for certain object or person, we should voluntarily detach ourselves. That is the best course of action. That is the best thing you can do. Voluntarily just detach yourself. But how to do it, the process is there. It may not come in uh, suddenly. This is a gradual process. The process is cultivating spiritual knowledge and practicing path of devotional service. This is the process by which one can eventually free oneself from all kinds of material attachments. And freeing oneself from all kinds of material attachment means freeing oneself from miserable situation. Because material attachment means three things. What is those three things? Miseries, second. Miseries, third. Miseries. Very nice. Intelligent. All material attachments leads towards only three things. What is that? Tell us again. Miseries, second. Miseries, third. Miseries. No misery. One always hopes I'll get some misery. Misery means sweet, honey, nectar, but no nectar. Only misery, misery, and misery. That is the harsh reality of this material attachment. You can take any example. You can see around yourself. In our own life, we can just judge and experience. This is the reality. But the only result of getting attached to devotional service or getting attached to Krishna is happiness, more happiness, and most happiness. This is the result of getting attached to Krishna. As soon as you get attached to this devotional service or Krishna, then you become immediately happy. And then when you go on practicing, as your anarthas, unwanted things, dirty desires, material desires are finished from the heart, then you become more happy. And finally, when the heart is completely cent% crystal clear, free and clean, completely free, and 100% free, at that time one develops complete love for the Supreme Lord Krishna. And that is the stage of most happiest situation. That is the most happiest situation, most blissful. And that bliss is eternal bliss. Brahma Saukhyam to Anantam. Anantam means unlimited. Brahma Saukhyam, spiritual happiness one can get by attaching oneself to spiritual life, by attaching oneself to the Supreme Lord. We get unlimited spiritual bliss, unending spiritual bliss. And by attaching ourselves to this temporary material attachments, material things, material person, object, relationships, we only get miseries and miseries. So in this transition phase from material attachments to spiritual attachment, in this transition phase, one may experience certain kind of difficulties, certain kind of miserable situation. So Krishna says, till that time, just tolerate it. But don't act upon material attachment. Even if you get some material impetus, material attachment, some tendencies to act sinfully, but don't execute it. Don't do it practically. Just tolerate it. and eventually it will go away. That is a fact. Uh, This is a fact. There's no doubt about it. As one goes on, just like suppose when somebody becomes diseased, so when the disease is very high, so he feels so much suffering. So what he has to do? He should admit himself under the care of a perfect doctor and then take the treatment from him. And as the treatment goes on, so till this transition period, some suffering situation will remain, but doctor says, okay, you tolerate your suffering and take this treatment, and he will give also some prohibitions. To follow the prohibitions, don'ts, and accept the do's. And during this process, whatever suffering is coming, just tolerate it, go on executing, and eventually you will become free from disease. That is guaranteed because our doctor is perfect. A perfect doctor, expert doctor, his medicine never goes in vain. Treatment never goes in vain. Who is our doctor? Who is our doctor? The Supreme Lord Krishna is our doctor, perfect doctor, and his representative, Srila Prabhupada. Sadhu Vaidya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Kama Krodha Dasahaya तार लाठी खाए भ्रमित भ्रमित जदी साधु वैद्य पाय काम क्रोध लाठी लाठी means kick. A conditioned soul constantly gets the kick from lust and anger. His lusty desires and anger practically kicks a person, conditioned souls, again and again, constantly. And Dhamite, in this way, he is just wandering here and there, uh, all over the universe, or at least all over the Mumbai, from one direction to another direction, one person to another person, one object to another object. But what he is getting? He is only getting kicks, 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 and kicks. But in this way, when a person, after getting kicks and kicks from the lusty desires and angers within the heart, if Brahmite Brahmite Jadi Sadhu Vaidyapai, after wondering like this, facing so many miserable situations, if fortunately he comes across Sadhu Vaidya, doctor, a devotee doctor, a devotee doctor. Just like doctor has this status, so the devotee doctor has feedback. Feedback. So, so when he comes across in the association of a devotee doctor, then Tara mantra upadese maya pisa maya palaya Krishna bhakti paya jaye. What is that? Krishna nikate jay. The Tara mantra upadese. When one comes across a devotee doctor, when one is associating with devotees, so from them, devotees, he gets mantra, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and Upadesh. Upadesh means instructions on spiritual life, means teachings of scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, etc. So, with the help of these two things, that the conditioned soul who has been kicked again and again by this material anarthas, then he comes very close to the lotus feet of Krishna, and in this way, Maya palaya, Maya runs away from him, and in this way he becomes perfectly liberated. So this is the means by which one can become free. So, so the conclusion is that material one should be very eager to free one's heart, oneself from all kinds of material attachments as soon as possible. As soon as possible, because till the time we have even a trace of material attachment, because of that we will be suffering in this material world. And the biggest suffering is what? Especially for a devotee, the greatest suffering situation is What is that greatest suffering? For a devotee, greatest suffering is that Krishna is not allowing himself to come within his heart because of some attachment. Some attachment. Krishna will not come. We will chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. But no, Baba. Krishna says, no, 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 no. Not yet fully purified. और मेहनत करो. No. That's why one should become very eager to free oneself from all attachments, material attachment, which is the cause of all suffering, and become fully attached to Krishna. And then one becomes fully jubilant, happy, and blissful. So this is what Krishna taught Arjuna in the this section. But Arjuna still he was unable to accept it. So Krishna very mercifully is gradually trying him uh, to uplift into this spiritual consciousness. So he is telling this material dharma that even if you think yourself Kshatriya, as a matter of material duty, you execute it, and this is the result you will get. Yadrichya chaupapannam swargadwaram apavritam sukhina kshatriya partha labante yuddham uddesham. We will discuss about this verse tomorrow in great detail. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Yes, any question?